Hello viewers, in today's session we will discuss the term clause. So, what is a clause? We know that a sentence is made up of a subject and predicate, and a predicate should have a verb and or object and or complement. So, for example, if you take the sentence, Hyderabad is a big city. So, the sentence is about Hyderabad. So, Hyderabad is the subject. And what do we know about Hyderabad? Hyderabad is a big city. So, is a big city is predicate. So, basically a sentence can be divided into two parts, subject and predicate. And normally predicate begins with the verb. So, here is and complement that tells us about the subject, that completes the meaning of the subject. If I say Hyderabad is, we don't get the meaning. So, Hyderabad is a big city. So, a big city is complement. Let us see the second sentence. Gopi brought a new guitar from London. So, in this sentence, Gopi is the subject. And what do we know about Gopi? He brought a new guitar from London. So, Gopi is the subject. Brought a new guitar from London is predicate. So, brought is the verb. What did Gopi bring? A new guitar. So, a new guitar is object. So, object is the affected part. Gopi is the agent. So, if you see the sentence, Gopi brought what? Gopi brought a new guitar. So, there we can go. From where? From London. So, this sentence can be said as Gopi brought a new guitar from London. Here Gopi is the subject, brought verb, a new guitar object, and from London is complement. So, a clause just looks like a sentence. It is very difficult to see the difference between a sentence and a clause. So, at the basic level, a sentence is an independent clause or a free one. So, a sentence is called a maximal clause, which means a sentence is not at all part of another clause. So, just like a sentence, a clause also has a subject and a predicate. Now, let us see the types of clauses: independent clause, noun clause, adjective clause, and the adverb clause. So, independent clause is nothing but a sentence. It doesn't depend on other clause. For example, the earth is round. It is an independent clause or a sentence. When two independent clauses are combined with the coordinating conjunction such as and, or, but, yet, so, they make a compound sentence. If you see this, he completed the work and went to bed. It is the total sentence where we can find two independent clauses. He completed the work and he went to bed. These two clauses are linked by the coordinating conjunction and. This sentence has two independent clauses are linked by a coordinating conjunction. So, it is a compound sentence. And let us see a noun clause. A noun clause acts as a noun, sometimes as the subject of the sentence. So, if you see, how he speaks is unpredictable. Here, how he speaks is the noun clause. Whoever answers this question will be rewarded. Here also, whoever answers this question is functions as the subject of the sentence, just like a noun. So, it is also a noun clause. So, an adjective clause, it works just like an adjective. It modifies a noun or a pronoun, just like an adjective. You can see, the umbrella which has a broken handle is mine. Which has a broken handle. It modifies its antecedent the umbrella. So the umbrella which has a broken handle is mine. Here, which has a broken handle is an adjective clause. He told me a story that was not true. Here, that was not true is about the story. So he told me a story that was not true is a sentence in which we will find an adjective clause. That was not true. And adverb clause. An adverb clause refers to a point of time. It answers the question when. After he went home, we had lunch. You can see after he went home, we had lunch. When did we have lunch? After he went home. So after he went home is an adverb clause. An adverb clause refers to place. I will come wherever you go. So wherever you go is an adverb clause. An adverb clause of reason. We stopped the match because it started raining. It started raining is an adverb clause. An adverb clause of purpose. We eat so that we may live. An adverb clause of comparison. He is older than he looks. Here, he looks is the adverb clause. An adverb clause of condition. If you work hard, you will succeed. So, you work hard is the adverb clause which is linked by if. An adverb clause of concession. Though I am poor, I am honest. An adverb clause of consequence. He is so friendly that we like him. So, in all these sentences, we have seen a main clause as well as an adverb clause. An adverb clause functions as a subordinating clause. So, when we have a main clause and subordinative clause in a sentence, it is a complex sentence and the linker is called subordinative conjunction. And here, non-finite clause, the difference between finite and non-finite clause are, a non-finite clause is not marked for tense. Finite clauses we know they are marked for tense. And examples for non-finite clauses are infinitive or to infinitive. We say, I want to leave this place. So here to leave is a non-finite clause. Let us see the sentences. I want to leave this place. I wanted to leave this place. I may want to leave this place. In all these examples, the non-finite clause to leave remains unchanged. And another non-finite clause is inform or participle clauses. I like singing songs. I liked singing songs. So, singing songs is a participle clause or ing that has ing form at the beginning and it is not at all marked for tense. And we have already stated coordination and subordination. Coordination refers to combining two words, phrases or clauses of equal rank. And a compound sentence will have two coordinate clauses. And cumulative coordination, he is clever and strong. And we are adding more than one quality. He is clever and he is strong. We can say he is clever and strong. They are good as well as friendly. And here the thief not only robbed the house but also broke all the windows. So, in cumulative coordination, we keep adding the information. And adversative coordination or contrast. It was dark, but we continued our journey. He is rich, still he is unhappy. They played well, yet they couldn't win the match. And alternative coordination, you can take it or leave it. It is neither useful nor available. You can either take help or do it by yourself. It is alternative coordination. There we have a choice between two. And elative coordination or inference. She speaks well, so she will win the competition. So here we are drawing inferences. So she will win the competition is an elative coordination. And subordination refers to the combination of two clauses that are unequal in rank. And a complex sentence will have a main clause and a subordinate clause. And adverb clauses, we have already discussed, they function as subordinate clauses. And a very important point here, relative clause. So what is a relative clause? It normally modifies a noun or a noun phrase which is called its antecedent, that is, it precedes it, and it's introduced by a relative pronoun who, where, when, what, which. Defining relative clauses and non-defining relative clauses. Let us see the difference. Consider these two sentences. My brother who is in London is a doctor. My brother who is in London is a doctor. These two sentences are similar, but they do have a lot of difference. If I say, my brother who is in London is a doctor, here it is restrictive or defining. You can assume that I have many brothers and one of my brothers is in London and he is a doctor. So the scope of the relative clause is restricted. We can say, my brother who is in London is a doctor. And the second one, my brother who is in London is a doctor. It means I have only one brother and he is in London and he is a doctor. So a defining clause has restricted scope, whereas a non-defining clause, it almost an adjunct. If you see the second sentence, my brother is in London and my brother is a doctor. These two sentences are combined and my brother who is in London is a doctor. Even you can skip the relative clause here. My brother is a doctor. Still the sentence stands good. But whereas in the first one, my brother who is in London is a doctor and my brother is a doctor, totally different. So my brother who is in London is a doctor. My brother who is in London is a doctor. Did you see any difference here? A defining relative clause is not separated by commas, whereas a non-defining relative clause is separated by commas within a sentence. And there are some other differences between defining and non-defining relative clauses. Let us see them. A defining relative clause identifies the thing or person we are talking about. And whereas a non-defining relative clause provides additional information. And in a defining relative clause, we can replace that with who or which, whereas in non-defining relative clause, we cannot use the word that. And in defining relative clause, you can skip the relative pronoun, it can be left out when it refers to the object. Whereas in non-defining relative clause, we cannot skip the WH word or a relative pronoun. And this one we have already discussed. A defining relative clause does not have commas, whereas a non-defining relative clause must have commas. So, using relative clauses. You gave me a book last week. It was interesting. How can we combine these two sentences? One way, you gave me a book last week and it was very interesting. And we are using a linking word and we are making a compound sentence. And how can we combine these two sentences using a relative clause? You can say, the book which you gave me last week was interesting. Or you can say, the book that you gave me last week was interesting. Or the book you gave me last week was interesting. Let us see what type of relative clause it is. There are no commas and we have used which. In the second sentence, we have replaced which with that, and in the third one, we have removed the relative pronoun and the meaning remains unchanged. The book which you gave me last week, or the book that you gave me last week, or the book you gave me last week, all are the same. So it is a defining relative clause. And let us see the scope. Here we are not talking about any book in general. We are talking about the book which was given last week. So the scope of the book is restricted. Not any book, like you gave me a book last week, or I borrowed a book from you last week. No, the scope is restricted. So it is defining relative clause. Let us see the second sentence. Hyderabad is the capital of Telangana. It is famous for pearls. We can say simply, Hyderabad is the capital of Telangana and it is famous for pearls. Very simple. But how can we combine these two sentences using a relative clause? Hyderabad, which is the capital of Telangana, is famous for pearls. We cannot say Hyderabad, that is the capital of Telangana, is famous for pearls. It is incorrect. And you can say Hyderabad is famous for pearls. Still the sentence stands good. So what type of clause it is? It is non-defining relative clause. How can we say? Here, which is the capital of Telangana gives us additional information, and it is separated by two commas, and we cannot replace which with that or who. Impossible. So it is a non-defining relative clause. So dear viewers, at the basic level, a clause is nothing but a sentence. An independent clause is just like a sentence. But we have already said a sentence may have clauses, but a clause may not have sentences. The similarity between a sentence and a clause is both the sentence as well as a clause have the subject and predicate. And how we link the clauses, that is very important. When we link the clauses with a coordinating conjunction, that means if the clauses are considered equal in rank, they are coordinating clauses, and we use a coordinating conjunction like and, or, but, yet, so, therefore. And when you come to subordination, every time subordinative clause, that is always, we call it dependent clause, that always depends on the main clause. For example, when the sun rose, the fog disappeared. If you take this sentence, what is the main clause here? The fog disappeared. Immediately, when did the fog disappear? When the sun rose. So, when the sun rose, the fog disappeared. It is a complex sentence in which we will find the fog disappeared is the main clause. That is the main event, and the sun rose is a dependent clause, and it is linked by the word when. So, the sun rose is a subordinating clause, and when the sun rose, the fog disappeared is a complex sentence. And another example is, although they played well, they did not win the match. So, what is the main event here? They did not win the match. So, what is the concession there? Although they played well. So, one way you can skip the subordinative clause. The main event remains undisturbed. They did not win the match. Still, it is a good one. Although they played well, they did not win the match. So, we have looked into different types of adverb clauses, and almost all the adverb clauses function like subordinating clauses. And we will find adverb clauses in complex sentences. And a very important thing is relative clauses. We have stated them defining as well as non-defining. They are not interchangeable. A defining clause always has restricted scope, whereas a non-defining clause, it almost gives us additional information, and in a sentence we can skip non-defining relative clause. It works good. And a noun clause, it works like a noun. That means it is in the position of a noun or the subject, or even sometimes as a complement, you can say. Whoever violates the rules will be punished. If you take this sentence, whoever violates the rules, it is a noun clause, will be punished. So in a sentence, we will find subject and predicate, and the functional labels are subject, verb, object and complement. They are functional labels. They tell us what is the function of the element. And the formal labels, we know the parts of speech. Sometimes a noun can be a subject or an object or a complement. And in a clause, we will find subject and a verb, which is obligatory. Consider these examples. Honesty is the best policy. It is an independent clause. And how will we see? Here, honesty is the subject and is the best policy is the predicate. It is a sentence, you can say, or an independent clause. All that glitters is not gold. So, here that glitters, it has its antecedent. You can say all which glitters is not gold, you can say. So, that glitters is it refers to all, and all that glitters, it is a subordinative clause and it is a complex sentence. And I know where you live. Here, I know where you live. Where you live is adverb clause. It tells about the place. So, I know where you live. It is a complex sentence. Here, it is adverb clause of place. And this is important. He said that he was a liar. What did he say? He said that he was a liar. So, you call it say that clause, or you can call it appositive clause. He said what? He said that he was a liar. So, let us have a small task, dear viewers. We can take a short passage and there we will have to identify clauses first. Let us take the sentences and see the clauses, if at all. And from there, we will have to analyze the clause. What type of clause it is? Is the clause working as an adjective, or is the clause functioning as a noun, or is a clause adding information, or is the clause restricted? So, we can see the type of clause and there we can go for the analysis. So, literally phrase and clause, these words are often confusing. A phrase is the basic one. For example, if you take a noun and a noun phrase, both are the same. Both function like the noun. For example, city, big city remain the same. Whereas city, we call it as a word, whereas big city is a phrase. And they can be replaced. For example, Hyderabad is a city and Hyderabad is a big city. Both are the same. But when you come to clauses, this interchange may not be possible, because clause has some fixed meaning. Just cannot skip the clauses. Just as we do in phrases, we cannot replace clauses. And if you replace them, we get a totally different meaning. That's the issue, right? We have seen the types of clauses, And sometimes, we can reduce the clause into a word. For example, he proved his innocence. It's an independent clause. And you can say, he proved that he was innocent. Both are the same. But he proved his innocence is a simple sentence. He proved that he was innocent is a complex sentence. These two sentences are structurally different, but the meaning is the same. So, dear viewers, in this session, we have looked into clauses and sentences, and we have seen the different types of clauses: independent clause, noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. And we have seen different types of adverb clauses: adverb clause of time, place, manner, concession, condition, and all. And a very important thing is relative clauses, and how relative clauses work. They work like adjectives, and they always modify their antecedents. And we have seen two types of relative clauses: defining as well as non-defining or restrictive or non-restrictive clauses. And the difference is restrictive clause has a fixed meaning, whereas a non-restrictive clause gives us additional information. That's all for us today. Have a nice day.